Hello, my moniker is Puddleglum, and this is Puddleglum Insists, a video series of fairly rudimentary skill, because this is the first time I've ever done video editing or recording of YouTube videos. But I feel as though it is time for me to become engaged with the political discourse on YouTube. Specifically, I am concerned by the lack of effective representation of traditional Catholic views in the discussion of the alt-right. That is to say, many alt-righters, or the more rare neo-reactionaries, are they are very logical. They can be they hold well-researched positions, in my view. But the problem is the basis, or one of the bases of their beliefs, is fundamentally flawed. That is to say, they lean towards either paganism or atheism or agnosticism. And this is a major problem, not in large part because all societies are based on the connection between the metaphysical, the ineffable, and the effable. That is to say, man is not fully man until he comes to grips with the spiritual and the transcendent. And because according to Catholic teaching and in my belief, man is that merger. The flesh is of this world, but the spirit is not. And we cannot be fully man unless we acknowledge that. The problem with that is then that any society which purports to be for the good of mankind has to either deny that as a truth, or, which I don't think an alt-righter would do, because so much of what the alt-right is talking about is this ineffability, this transcendent aspect of humanity. And secondly, the fact of the matter is that the white ethno-state, or the ethno-state, or whatever the end stage of the white nationalist / alt-right / dissident right movement is, it doesn't really have an answer for, well, then what then? So we create the white ethno-state, for instance, and then what do we do? Why is it there? What is the raison d'etre of that state? And the problem is that the founding fathers of America attempted to create a state based on Enlightenment principles and pure rationalism. It was supposed to be a limited government which had no transcendent goal other than to allow people to pursue their own transcendent goals. And that lasted all of 50 years, maybe. What actually happened was there was a sucking need in the human soul, in the human society, to reach for the better. But because the Enlightenment destroyed the popular conception of God, of heaven, of the transcendent, it had to be moved down so that the transcendent became the material, which is where you get things like communism, which essentially denies any kind of spirituality, materialism, but still has these religious notions such as the new socialist man, the perfect state, the sort of somehow things will magically happen where once everyone's equal, everything will just happen and work properly, which has no basis. It's a magical thinking. There's no basis in reality. And in the West, the social democratic position went from being merely, we're going to have competent administration, and then people can just do what they want to do, to the manifest destiny, and then welfare state, and anti-Nazism, and all the different crusades that we've had, the anti-poverty, they're all religious movements. They're based on about bringing heaven to earth. We're going to create a utopia. It's this utopian project. The Catholic idea has always been that human beings are tragic figures that have good and bad in them, and that nothing you do on this earth can ever bring about heaven, and it's all about just getting by. It's all about doing the best you can, and that the state needs to do the best it can, but that, a la Plato, it also needs to engender virtue in the citizens, and it needs to have a transcendent project. It doesn't have to be empire building, but it has to be something. There has to be something that the people are aspiring to. And religion used to be that thing, and now it's not for many people, and that's not acceptable as far as I'm concerned. And I don't think that the alt-right's doing anyone any favors by not acknowledging the importance of religion in any kind of political system. That is to say, that in any political social system, you need a government, you need the secular, and you need the religious in order to have a full life. I mean, because the fact of the matter is that things like ceremony and ritual speak to the human soul. And without those things, we languish, or we start creating our own ceremonies and rituals, which are almost always much worse than what the church has created. I mean, if you look now at like going out and getting super drunk on Friday, which is a fairly common thing among college-age kids. That's a ritual. That's something they do, and it's actually part of the mating ritual, because it's you go out, you get drunk, and then you engage in sexual intercourse. And why? Because that's what you do on Fridays. It is a ritual. I mean, they cry rituals as much as they want to, but the fact of the matter is that that is a ritual. And if that's a ritual, then why would we prefer that ritual to a religious ritual or a religious ceremony? And I'm going to get more into in later videos, but what it comes down to is this. The alt-right is missing something important. There is nothing in traditional Catholic teaching which contradicts or interrupts the basic tenets of the neo-reactionaryism or the alt-right, or however you want to put it. But it can, if they go off the rails. And I'm here to provide a leavening voice of something to salt the meat, if you will, with the most traditional thing the West has, which is the Roman Catholic faith. I mean, if you care about traditionalism, it is the faith, it is the church which has provided that to you. Any of your moral sentiments, any of your moral impulses are all based on a Christian sentimentality, a Christian mentality, which has been diluted, certainly, not in least part by Protestants, but has been diluted and turned into some secular amalgamation that does barely resembles the original thing, but it is still a Christian ideal that has been de-Christianized. So, it is my intention to provide real Catholic answers to a lot of the questions that the alt-right asks, and to provide real Catholic feedback on a lot of the principles that the alt-right espouses. And the first thing I'm going to be doing is creating a series of videos on what I would call foundational principles. We'll call them a traditional Catholic alt-right view. And then we'll build from there. I'd like to begin to respond to other people. I want to answer questions. I really want to be involved in this conversation because there's no one talking my language, right? I mean, Millennial Woes is agnostic, Richard Spencer is atheist, Sticks and Hammer, who I know is not an alt-righter per se, but Satanist or pagan or something very unnerving, and but there's no one there for us. The only person I heard that was a Christian was unable to really elucidate any real Christian or Catholic, well, I believe he was Protestant, but any real principles and provide any real answers to the, in my view, rarely easily answered questions that are posed often by atheists, agnostics, and non-Christians. And even if you don't accept them, at least they are intellectually edifying answers that provide nuance and understanding of human condition and psychology and society and internal logic and all that fun stuff. So, in any case, I don't know who's going to see this. I hope people do. But at the very least, it'll be there, and I'll be happy for it. And I look forward to talking to you guys some more.